Okay, here is the review preview answers for 414. So the first problem, 437, said invent a tile pattern that fits this data. So I noticed that the data was growing by 4 each time, and it started at 5. So I created a very simple, so I started 0, I did 1 and 2, just a very simple one. So I started with 5 tiles, and then each time I added 4 more. And then this one, I had 2 rows of 4. So then it could keep going. So then it said, show where the path of pattern is growing in the XY table. So if I made a table, it was 0, 0, 5, 1 was 9, 2 was 13, 3 was 17, 4 was 21, and then 5 was 25. So to show it, I would just do this, plus 4, show that it's growing by plus 4 each time. So then I know it's growing by 4, and its initial value is 5, so my rule is y equals 4x plus 5. Okay, problem number 38, it says look at the graph right. What statements can you make about the tile patterns the graph represents? How many tiles are in figure 0, figure 1, what's the pattern's growth, what's the rule? So you should have answered most of these questions in this section, but I basically just checked it that you had the rule. So the number of tiles in figure 0, so figure 0 has 7 tiles in it by showing right there, 7 tiles. It's growing by 2. And the rule is y equals 2x plus 7. Problem number 39 says for each equation, solve for x. So I combine like terms on each side first. So I got 3x minus 5 equals 3x minus 5. At this step, I noticed they were exactly the same. So the answer is infinite solutions. For B, I simplified first again. I got negative 2x minus 5, 2 minus 4x, minus x plus 1. So I ended up with negative 2x minus 5 equals 3 minus 5x. So I added 5x to both sides. I got 3x minus 5 equals 3. Added 5. 3x equals 8. So when I divided by 3, I ended up with 8/3. And you could change that to a decimal if you wanted to. Problem number 40, I am thinking of a number. When I double my number and then subtract the result from 5, I get negative 1. What's my number? Write and solve an equation. So doubling my number needs to be multiplied by 2. So I'm going to multiply my variable, or x, by 2. But then I'm going to subtract it from 5. So that means it's 5 minus 2x equals negative 1. Majority of people wrote 2x minus 5 equals negative 1, but this from part means that the 5 comes first. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. I get negative 2x equals negative 6. Divide by negative 2. I end up with x equals 3. So you want to be careful about these words. It's very important. Problem 41, look at the table and use your pattern skills to complete it. So I noticed it was 2 and 4. So 2 times 2 is 4, but 10 times 2 is not 28. So I can't be doing that. So then I thought, all right, maybe I'm multiplying by something else. So let's see, if I multiply by 1 and add 2, that works, except that wouldn't work for 10 and 28. So then I thought, all right, maybe, if I multiplied by 3 and subtracted 2, it was actually given to me. Didn't see that at first. So I multiplied by 3, minus 2 is 4. So in this case, I have to work backwards. So for this one, I'm going to do 13 plus 2 is 15. 5 times 3 is 15, so that one's 5. Negative 17 plus 2 is negative 15. So this is going to be negative 5. 12 is going to be 4. 3 times 4 is 12. This one I plug straight in. Negative 9 minus 2 is negative 11. 2.5 plus 2 is 4.5, and it's actually 1.5. And then 148 plus 2 is 150. It's going to be 50. So it says, explain in words what's done to the x to produce the y. So in words, you multiply x by 3 and then subtract 2. And then it says, explain the process used to find the missing values. So I worked backwards. By adding 2 and then dividing by 3.